Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a hell of a day. I know I am! I'm on my fourth take of this video. Hopefully I don't run into any more technical fucking difficulties this time. I'm perfectly fine, I swear. Perfectly fine. Anyway, so yeah, today I'm here to talk about the STL Control Hub. What the hell is it? I wrote this down because it's kind of hard to say it off the cuff. These are modeled effects chains. What they did was they used machine learning to go into studios around the world and lift effects chains, processing chains like parallel buses, stuff you'd find on kick drum, snare drum, guitars, bass, all that stuff from like guys like Machine and Mark Lewis to apply to your tracks. So their kind of favorite things to use and their favorite settings, you can apply them to your mixes. And it's going to get you results like this. Yeah, that's basically using a bunch of presets from Machine and Mark Lewis. Wow, I'm really liking those results. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, just a heads up. We are going to have Mark Lewis on the show to talk a little bit about some of his presets and how all this stuff works. That's going to be later on, but for right now, I'm going to take you through a few of the different channels I've got just to show you what's going on. I got to say, yeah, I was pretty blown away with this. Like when STL hit me up with this a few weeks back, they're like, hey, you want to do a video on this? And I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like, well, you know, I did the Tone Hub video where, you know, we checked out the Colin Richardson Tone Hub and I was just blown away by that. I love Colin's guitar tones. I mean, Colin did some of my absolute favorite guitar sounds like Carcass Heartwork and Machine Head Burn My Eye. And I've actually got that going on this mix right now. I've got STL Tone Hub, the Colin Richardson, 2 tracks here doing this and then 2 like this. And when you blend them, yeah, that's just lovely. So what I did there was I pulled up Control Hub and we threw a little bit of Mark's processing on, and we just got this really wonderful zing to the guitar sound using his preset here, which is Guitar Bus Tight Bright Rhythms. Turn that off. They're very nice. But Mark's preset just brings out a little bit more definition and kind of gets things under control. And you can see at the top roll here, it says here, color, compression, master EQ, and effects. Whatever console Mark's using, I don't know if he's using an SSL or whatever, it's giving a little bit of its own sound. Compression, Wave C4, everyone's using C4 on metal guitars. Then master EQ is SSL EQ with some metric halo channel strip and a little bit of the Fab Filter Pro Q3, which I think is a big favorite among a lot of metal producers as well. And it's just adding a nice little zing, and I've got it just set so it's just kind of stepping on the palm mutes a little bit. We don't want to hear pumping, so we'll punch it out. Now, this is the weird thing, and I asked the guys at STL about this, and they're like, hey, this is a Mark question, so I'm going to ask Mark this during the interview because I really want this cleared up, because if I take this master EQ on and off, even though it says SSL EQ metric halo, I turn this off, that's not doing anything. You know, the compressor's going to do something. The color definitely does something. So I'm going to take a wild guess here and think that the EQ is actually captured when they model Mark's preset. And then the master EQ here is something for after the fact. If we want to tweak out the tone a little bit, say we want to take out a little bit of the bottom. Or maybe just get rid of a little bit of mud down here. Like let's take a narrow band here, boost it up, find some mud. Go 229, take a bit of that out. Spread that out a little bit. He said spread. Anyway. Yeah, right about there. That's looking pretty good. And Bob's your uncle. It's really that easy. Like, if I was a beginner guy and I know nothing about mixing, I would be running down the street trying to get my hands on this, because this is going to get you in the ballpark. I mean, one of the hardest things for me when I was coming up was figuring out what sounds right. Am I doing it right? You know, because I had absolutely nothing to go on. Now we've actually got presets to go off and go, okay, am I doing this right? I can throw something up. This is what's going to work on the guitar bus, you know, or say, hey, this is what's going to work on my snare bus. Like, I've got control hub on snare top here, snare bottom. At least I had it on here. There we go. And here's my snare top. We got snare lean and cracky. You know. And the great thing is we can go through a couple different presets. Snare bottom. Snare bus real. I've got that on the actual bus. We're going to listen to that in a minute here. Snare top cleaner, high cracky. I like that. Yeah, let's use that. And then just combine it on a bus. So I've got snare bus real. We turn that off. Just adds a little bit of clarity. Again, no master EQ is on here. I don't know what's going on there. So again, I've got to ask this of Mark, what's going on? Even though it says metric halo CS EQ, you know, this isn't really doing much until we adjust it. So I'm guessing the coloring is doing it, maybe? Compression's definitely doing something. That's a really, really great snare preset right there. It's a great jumping off point. I love how you put it snare bus real, because, you know, I use real snares, so this is a really good jumping off point for a guy like me, not into samples all that much. Okay, I kind of like the snare top kind of left alone and just using the real bus there. The other one, you know, putting the two together might be a little much. This is nice and thumpy here. And again, I've got a parallel snare compressor here, and we're using one of Machine's presets, which is parallel compression, drums crush. I'm just using this on snare just to give it a little bit of zing. And this is really doing nice things. We punch it out. You know, he's got a bunch of different percussion and drum presets and whatnot. Really cool stuff. I was going to say, you know, I was talking to Machine. I know he's going to be at the NAMM show, and I'd really like to get him on the show at some point. And I'm sure if we got some comments from you guys requesting him to be on the show, I could send them to him, and hopefully we'll get to do an interview with him at some point. So all you Lamb of God fans are wondering how the hell he got all those sounds. You know, maybe he'd be kind enough to answer a few questions. I think that'd be cool. If you guys would like to see Machine on the show, please leave a comment below, and I'd love to share those comments with him. Anyway, let's check it out here. So this is really cool. Like, I love that compression. And again, this, for me, I work with a lot of different things. It isn't just like one snare track. I've got buses everywhere. So like, here's my main snare sound from Mark's preset, which is great. But we throw in that Machine parallel compression, and that's just thumpy as hell. You know. And then down here, we got a couple more buses. We've got a close mic bus, so that's kick and snare together. And just drum bus comp, which is an SSL bus comp here. Something which I'd use quite a bit for the same application. Actually, in the real world, I use the Taylor Magnetismus because that's incredible. And then we got parallel bus, which I'm using a lot of compression for. Again, one of Mark's presets, which is the parallel drum bus smasher, where he's using an SSL bus comp. I've got a hardware S-type bus compressor by IGS, which is basically the same idea. Fantastic stuff. Mark's using the same kind of thing. Very cool. I will say this, though. I was really blown away by Mark's presets, and that's why I agreed to do this video, because I started mixing with this, and I'm like, suddenly the bottom end in my drums just cleaned right up, and I'm like, oh, the kick's punching where it should be. The snare's punching where it should be. Damn, okay, I can definitely learn something here. Because honestly, I thought I was getting a better mix using a blend of Mark and Machine's presets than just using my outboard. And that's what kind of blew me away. And this is the big secret about this thing, is if we go through this and some of the presets, we're using hybrid captures. It's not just somebody's outboard gear, you know, like an SSL EQ and compressor or something like that. They're actually capturing their presets, what they'd use on the digital stuff as well. Like I said, he's got the Pro MB for a compressor on the snare and a metric halo channel strip. And that's all digital stuff, but that's been modeled here, which is really cool. And that's what a lot of the top level guys use, is not just all outboard or all in the box. It's a hybrid system. So you're getting that, and you're getting that blend, and that's what's working so well here. And yeah, like I said, a couple of presets I threw up, and away we go. And we've got something really cool. So that's my parallel bus. You take that out in the mix, the drums kind of disappear. Again, got it on the kick. I'm using a 91 on the kick. Well, actually, Jackson Ward is. These are his drums tracks. Jackson always does an amazing job here. And we're using one of Mark's presets, the 91 inside cleaner. With the Shure 91, it's a PZM mic you throw in for a lot of attack. It's really cool. It's a favorite of Jackson's. And we're using that to clean that up. And just a little before and after, like we punch that out, throw it on. Adds a little bit more definition to it. Same thing, kick bus here. This again is Mark's Lewis Fat Kick Controller. Let's take a listen to that. Take it off. I threw in a little master EQ. It's just a little SSL EQ here. Doing a little bit of 5 kilohertz boost, and I mean about a dB. I take that out. Pretty close. So it's just a little bit of that compression and color you'd get from Mark's setup, and yeah, there you go. Like, you like the sound of Mark's records? Yeah, you're gonna get that kick sound just like that. It's that easy. Let me try one little thing. I did see something cool. Let's see. I'm gonna throw a control hub on the leads, see what we get after the fact. Mark had something for guitars here. Let's see what we got. Lead high gain 1. Let's see what we get. A little bit of console, a little bit of EQ, a little delay and reverb. Okay, I'm going to turn off my delay here. And I'm using a little micro shift because I do like that sound. I'm going to turn it on like that. Let's go back to high gain 1. There we go. A little bit of reverb. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Not bad. Let's hear that in the mix. Okay, there's the delay. Okay, let's turn that up. And are we getting both at the same time? Well, there's the delay. Okay, yeah, we are getting both. All right, okay. Apparently those need to be switched on individually. Hey, I'm learning new stuff every day here. Okay, cool. Let's just pull the mix back on those. Pull the delay. Okay, I see what's going on. That's cool. You can switch them in and out individually. That's kind of nice. Actually, that's a nice touch. I didn't know it worked like that, so that's cool. Learn something new every day. Okay, micro shift. Let me turn off the micro shift. Let's see what we get. So let's just tone hub and control hub together. So there you go. You got a little Colin Richardson amp setup with a little bit of Mark Lewis delay, reverb, and whatever console color he has. There you go. Completely in the box, but you're modeling everybody's in and out of the box stuff. How crazy is that? I tell you, this is really going to take a lot of the headaches out of mixing. All right, as promised, we got Mark Lewis on the show. Mark, thank you so much for making the time, dude. We were just talking there a couple seconds ago, and apparently your schedule's just gone from like not too bad to absolutely nuts. So you're working on a whole bunch of stuff.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, it's even getting hard to schedule family time, which I have to do. But dude, it's crazy. I've had to hire on some more people to help me do the mundane things, which has been a blessing. But it's a lot to manage, and I'm just glad that the music business is so busy right now. I feel like everybody's going through this, and just trying to get all this shit done, and you know, not sacrifice 1 ounce of quality. You know.
Right on. Right. Anything cool you're working on right now? Anything you can tell us about?
Yes, absolutely. I'm finishing the new Entheos record for Metal Blade. It's Naveen Copperweiss and Cheney Crab's band. Naveen was on drummed on The Valley that I did by Whitechapel, and was in Animosity and Animals as Leaders, and you know, very one of my favorite drummers on the planet. And now my neighbor just lives down the street. I have to finish the new Ne Obliviscaris, which has been going on for about 2 years because of the pandemic. Obviously, people know that Australia was particularly locked down, so very little progress was made on that one in that time, because Dan, the drummer, and I started that record the week that COVID hit. We were tracking those drums at Addiction Studios in March of 2020.
Fantastic.
And I'm doing a pretty big death metal band for Relapse right now. You could probably if you look at their roster, put those things together. I can't say too much. There's not been any press releases. Doing Arrival of Autumn for Nuclear Blast, and just turned in a great Japanese band called Sable Hills. There's just a million things going on. A lot of more mastering these days too.
Cool.
Since I'm in my new studio, which I feel is, I feel much better about mastering in this room. It's so good, but I've made a very short answer very long. I don't want to waste all your time here.
It's all good, man. Like I said, we're happy to have you on the show. So, I'm sure James is going to be talking about the damn plugin. Okay. So the Control Hub, we had a few questions about that. So obviously you went in and we got impulse captures of not only your board, but your outboard and your digital stuff as well.
Right. Yes. It's, I've done, I guess, people are like, oh, it's kind of like a similar thing, to Easy Mix and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, maybe one of the steps is, but I think that this is it's a more in-depth program. I guess I don't feel that they're really competing products, because this is a lot more about my actual signal chain and not me creating necessarily something inside. Like I didn't use Tone Hub to create the sounds, or Control Hub rather. I mix those up all the time. But I used my gear to create the sounds, and then Control Hub models that, I guess. So I'm not sure it's been done before. If anything, if I was going to boil it down to something, people are like, oh, it's kind of like a Kemper for gear. Maybe, it's a little bit more in depth than that. We modeled my analog signal chains, some of my digital signal chains, because I do a lot in the box. I actually don't have a console here. I have just a good amount of preamps, and then I have some EQs outboard that I use, and some compression. And when I sent them the test tracks and they sent me back the completed presets, I was like, wow, this is, undetectable to me. And then the mastering limiter on it's incredible too. I mean, just a hell of a mastering chain, and just things that I did not have access to when I was starting, man. Like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, well that was the thing. That's why I wanted to make this interview happen, because they sent me a copy. I started playing with some of the presets, and I use a lot of outboard. I mean, like, I've got just racks and racks of EQs and compressors and all this shit, and I started throwing your presets up on my kick, my snare bus, my side, my crush bus, all that kind of crap, and I'm like, damn, this sounds really good. I mean, I really like the results I was getting. I'm like, this is better than what I'm getting with my outboard. What's going on here? So I was just kind of wondering about that. Like, yeah, what's your whole philosophy there? Because I just noticed, like, suddenly my drums, my kick, my snare had way much more of a solid bottom end.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, dude, it's 18, 19 years of me just going insane. And I do have my workflow, but I am not it's funny because I don't want to be contradictory to the product, but I'm not a preset mixer, and I would complain to Sonny. I'm like, well, dude, my sources are different than other guys. And he's like, nah, dude, people love what you do. And it's, it's a little bit of the imposter syndrome where I'm like, do people really love this shit? But I guess they do. And it's just a lot of the time that I've put in, I guess, just works. I guess that's just how my low end sounds with certain things, and it's working on other people's sources. And that makes me really happy, dude. Because my mindset is always as big and clean as possible, and just, very mindful of things. And I have this new room now where I can hear things so well. It's just it's kind of a really, it's a good moment, because I have the new room where I could hear, even better. And I have all my gear that I've had forever. And it's just a good, what's the serendipitous moment, I guess,
Sure.
for it all to come together.
Okay, so I have one question here. Let me just pull up your artist pack for a minute. Once again, yes, I'd highly recommend checking out Mark's artist pad. I'm using it all over the mix in this video, and I'm really blown away by what we've been getting here.
Good.
So my thing was, what am I looking at here? I got the wrong channel up here. So I'm looking at my snare channel or something like that, or my guitar channel. Something maybe you could help us out here, because I asked James at STL about this. He's like, well, maybe you should ask Mark about that. So the one thing I'm noticing is like, okay, the master EQ, it kind of seems like that's kind of an after the fact thing. Like, because I throw on your preset and I turn off the master EQ, I'm still hearing a shift in tone from when I punch the effect in and out. So is that master EQ more for like a final tweak for your own signal?
Yes, you talking about the last EQ and the chain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say it's more of a exactly so you can kind of tweak as you will, and that's what I hope people do. But I'm hoping that people will tweak these plugins themselves,
Yep.
you know, because it's a good starting point. But you know,
Right.
even me, it's like, you know, maybe I have my snare bus where I'm like, yeah, I do always use that plugin, but it's never looking the same or sounding the same.
Right.
You know, so it's like, you know, take your liberty with this and do your thing. Especially with, you know, like with the outboard stuff, you know, get it to react the way you want, or don't be afraid to turn up or down the distortion, you know, in the color module, which is brilliant to me, man. Right. That thing sounds great. And just kind of do your thing. Like what sounds good to you, because I certainly am not, I mean, people know that I'm very, kind of anti-education and color in the lines type guy, you know, because I've been very outspoken against a lot of the business models of the online educators, I guess.
Okay.
And it's like, do your thing, do what sounds good. If it sounds good, it is good, you know, because I'll have friends that are in audio and they're like, dude, I did this, but I feel like I should have done this. I'm like, does it sound good? They're like, dude, I love how it sounds. Then it's good.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I started pulling up a couple of your presets, and I'm like, okay, on kick, I'm like, okay, I want to add a little bit here, maybe take a little bit away from there. The guitar bus, take the compression down a little bit because things start farting around. But I find these are really good to get you in the ballpark or where you need to be. And that's kind of thing. It's like, go ahead and tweak, all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I just noticed I turn off the master EQ, and I'm still hearing a bit of that color going on for like the guitar bus. Things get tightened up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, there's no EQ going on here. So I'm guessing that's kind of like what your signal chain would be, kind of like where you're looking at in a broad stroke kind of way.
Yes, and most of the guitar buses do have EQ baked in. Okay. Like there's a couple where I modeled some hardware that I love, and a couple where I did the just the digital signal chain, because a lot of times my guitar bus is all in the box.
Sure.
So
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, like we're all using the C4. You know, I mean, like Andy came up with that ages ago, and I think everybody stole that idea, and then it's just how much we tweak it from there.
Yeah, and I've actually been using I use the Fab Filter multiband a lot when I'm doing that stuff now. I mean, the C4 is great, but I felt like the Fab Filter gave me some more control, and I also love a plugin called DMG Equilibrium. It's a fantastic EQ.
Okay, fantastic.
Might want to take a look really at it. Amazing. It's very, you know, close to. I love GML 8200s.
Okay.
And Sontex and SSLs and, you know, those types of stuff on the guitar bus, but I don't always have them. And I just refuse to pay $6 or $7 for an 8200 at this point.
Fair enough.
The equilibrium's really, really close. I think that's part of some of the things, the Massenburg plugin, that type of stuff is the stuff I'm using that you're hearing. I think there's a Sontec 250 preset in there. That's, you know, that's the real deal. You know, and some of it's very surgical and some of it's very broad. The guitar stuff might be a little bit more broad because I myself try to engineer my guitar sounds to be very mix ready. So maybe some of my guitar buses are more subtle. Whereas the kick stuff and my drum stuff, like, man, I EQ the shit out of stuff. So you might notice something drastic there, or, you know.
Right. Fair enough.
It's all different approaches. And I mean, maybe it'll tell you a little about what I do, but I also don't want, you know, like, dude, I used to go crazy trying to figure out like what Martin Birch and Sneap and Colin and Bob Rock and those guys did. And you know, you end up just doing your own thing anyway, you know?
You are absolutely right on the money. I don't know how many times I just went absolutely bananas trying to get like Frederick's, rhythm tone, like that In Flames thing. And it's never happened. And then I'm like, especially last year, I started experimenting with different speakers. It's like, okay, well, let's stop doing the vintage 30 thing. Let's try some other shit and see what happens. Now I'm getting some really cool tones, and it's like, oh,
I mean, dude, we could walk out into my drum room right now. I have 4 stacks of Celestion speakers to the ceiling, dude. I mean, like I have the speakers, the Hunt I have fully invested my life into that. And that's so much of the thing. And it's like, you could have the same cab and the same speaker from the same era, but dude, I have like so much shit of the same gear that all sounds so fucking different. And like, you need that particular, angle cabinet with that particular vintage 30 that they used on Clayman to get that sound again.
Agreed. Another one was like the Ailstorm tone, like on the first Ailstorm record. Loss is a buddy of mine. I went to his place last summer. We plugged in. I'm like, motherfucker, there's the sound. Like I'm trying to get that forever. It's like, it's all in the speaker.
It is. And I mean, that's why I have so many of them. I mean, it's getting to a point where like, I'm going to have to, probably, either myself or pay somebody to start cataloging this shit. Cause I mean, I know how my 57 sound. I have those documented. Like I need 57F here. 57, like I have 15 different 57s and they all sound fucking different.
Oh yeah. I'm straight. I'm exactly right there with you. That's the first thing I did. I bought like 6 57s and marked them all off A, B, C, D, E, F, because I knew they're all going to sound slightly different. So I'm right there with you. All right. We're going to wind up here all day and I know you got shit to do, so I'm not going to keep you. But Mark, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody, seriously, if you're new at mixing, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and wondering how to get some great sounds, I definitely recommend checking out the STL Tone Hub, in particular Mark's library, because it's really freaking amazing. It kind of blew me away. Like I said, that's the whole reason this is happening, because I was very, very impressed with what Mark's created as a jumping off point. Once again, don't do everything exactly that he's doing. Get in there, tweak some knobs, move some stuff around, crank it up all the way, make it sound bad, dial it back till it sounds good. Find something that works that's your own. Mark, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody likes about it and what they dislike about it. I mean, because we're always looking to make an awesome product, and this stuff I hope is really turnkey for people, dude. So thanks for the time, and thanks for the exposure for this. And I'm going to enjoy my coffee out of my PRS Guitars mug.
I got my Toman mug here. Here we go. Yeah, thanks so much, man. All right. All right, guys, that is the STL Control Hub. If you're a beginning mix engineer and you're wondering what sounds good, am I doing this right, that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend checking this out, because it's really going to get you quickly into the ballpark. It's going to take a lot of the guesswork out of what you need to do to get your mixes to sound more commercial ready. The intro price here is $199, and I believe it comes with one of the packs, and the additional packs are $49 each. As of right now, we've got packs available from Castle Recording Studios, Machine, Mark Lewis, and Neil Avron, with others to be released in the next few months. Definitely worth checking out, like I said, especially if you're a beginner mix engineer, or even if you've been at it for a couple of decades and you want a refresher course on what some of the bigger guys are doing, because I know I definitely learned a lot here as well. Anyway, I'd just like to thank Mark Lewis for coming on the show and laying it down for us. Thanks, dude. Really appreciate it. And if you guys want to see Machine on the show at some point, I think I'd love to have him on here. If you guys would as well, leave some comments below, and hopefully we can get him on an episode of Behind the Mix or something like that. I think that would be super cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Go check out the plugin over at STL Tones. It's definitely going to be worth taking a look at. I'm pretty blown away by this one, guys. I hope you are too. Until next time, get out there, make some metal while praising crime and crushing your enemies and all that good stuff. Take care. Whoops. Let's. Okay, let's see if we get that reset. Okay.